get too many paper cuts. Because I thought if I read enough documents, used papers and laws, I would understand how the world works. Understand how I could change it. See, I can recite to you all the statistics behind child labor in India. I can explain to you all the logistics behind the cycle of poverty in Africa, but local poverty, child abuse, are terms that were never quite recognizable in my vocabulary until I met a boy. He had teeth that were crooked, that seemed to fit a smile just right. Big blue eyes would stare up at me with a glimmer of mistrust I didn't think a 7-year-old was supposed to have. But all I could do was look into those eyes and wonder why his fingernails were covered in a permanent layer of dirt rather than sand from the playground, wonder why he would tear up and begin to stare in contest with the ground at the mention of home. When I asked if he had lunch yet, he replied, "No, I ate yesterday. My mom goes shopping tonight," which is when I realized local poverty, child abuse, are not just empty terms that form facts that people like me can recite and pretend we suddenly understand. Just like I never understood suicide bombers in the Middle East, never cared to understand why someone would want to do that to themselves until I met a girl. She would sleep as an escape, because every day she'd have to wake up and play a new game of hide and seek. From the bully who always found a way to catch her, who'd beat her self-confidence until she had nothing left. The bully she called her life. She was wearing a t-shirt when I noticed the patterns carved so carefully into her arms, drawn one too many times, like they were just stencils, daring her to fill in those lines that she knew were already broken. Depression. The word whose definition was as clear to me as the static on my television during a thunderstorm. But it was as real as the thunder, booming like bombs, impossible to ignore. See, I used to try to ignore the number of paper cuts I used to get from reading so many different documents, trying to understand them. The same documents politicians and teachers would thrust into my hands, telling me I can't change them, so why try? But I once heard a wise man say, there's no such thing as a world, just 7 billion different understandings of it. Which leads me to believe I can't change the world I see in the newspaper, but I can change people. I didn't understand until I met a boy, until I met a girl who let me change their life. When I think of changing the world, I don't think of child laborers in India or starving families in Africa. I think of big blue eyes. I think of the girl with patterns traced into her arms, too afraid to be beautiful. We all have problems. We all live in our own different world, and there are 7 billion out there. Chances are we can change one. You can tell someone you love them, show them you care, explain how they're beautiful, make someone happy. If you ever think that you can't change the world, put down your newspaper and look at the people around you. Because maybe you already have.